Hello and welcome to your ultimate guide for the C715 OA Organisational Behaviour course. My goal today is simple: give you everything you need to fully understand the key concepts, master them, and walk into your C715 OA exam with total confidence. In this video we'll cover person-environment fit, personality frameworks, the dark triad, situations, role and individual differences. And remember, our website offers free exam guides and practice questions to help you ace your C715 OA exam. You'll find the link in the description below, so be sure to check it out and get the resources you need to study smarter, not harder. So let's dive right in. Let's begin with a fundamental idea in organisational behaviour, the concept of fit. Why do some people thrive in a job while others in the exact same role feel miserable? It often comes down to fit. There are two main types you absolutely must know for your C715 OA exam: person-job fit and person-organisation fit. First, let's talk about person-job fit. This is the more traditional and straightforward idea. It's all about matching a person's personality, skills, and characteristics to the specific requirements of a single job. The most famous and influential theory here is John Holland's personality job fit theory, which you can easily remember with the acronym ROYASEC. Holland's brilliant insight was that people are happier and more successful when their personality type matches their work environment. Let's break down these 6 types with some clear examples. R stands for realistic. These are the practical, hands-on doers. They prefer physical activities that require skill, strength, and coordination. Think of an auto mechanic who gets deep satisfaction from diagnosing a complex engine problem and fixing it with their own hands, or a landscape architect who loves being outdoors, shaping the physical environment. They are not looking for a desk job. They want to see the tangible results of their work at the end of the day. I is for investigative. These are the analytical thinkers. They are driven by a deep curiosity and love to observe, learn, analyse and solve complex problems. Imagine a software engineer who spends hours trying to find the perfect, elegant solution to a coding bug. Or a medical researcher who is fascinated by piecing together clues to understand a disease. They thrive on intellectual challenges and are most comfortable in environments that value precision and knowledge. A is for artistic. These are the imaginative creators. They are expressive, original, and prefer unstructured activities that allow for self-expression. Think of a graphic designer who loses all track of time while creating a new logo, or a novelist who builds entire worlds from scratch. They are non-conforming and value beauty, originality, and emotional expression. A rigid, rule-bound environment would feel suffocating to them. S is for social. These are the empathetic helpers. They get their energy from working with, helping and developing other people. A great example is a high school teacher who feels a profound sense of purpose when a student finally understands a difficult concept, or a therapist who is dedicated to helping people navigate their emotional lives. They are driven by a desire to serve and connect with others. E is for enterprising. These are the ambitious persuaders. They enjoy influencing, leading and achieving organisational goals. These are the natural-born leaders who are energetic, confident, and enjoy taking risks. Imagine a startup founder pitching their vision to investors, or a real estate agent who loves the thrill of negotiating and closing a big deal. They are drawn to positions of power and influence. And finally, C is for conventional. These are the methodical organisers. They prefer rule-regulated, orderly, and unambiguous activities. They are efficient, careful, and responsible. Think of an accountant who finds satisfaction in a perfectly balanced spreadsheet, or an administrative assistant who keeps a busy office running like a well-oiled machine. They provide the structure and stability that every organisation needs. The key takeaway for your exam is that person-job fit is highest when a person's ROYASEC type aligns with their job's environment. An artistic person trying to be an accountant, a conventional job would be a terrible fit, likely leading to dissatisfaction and poor performance. But what happens when the job is a perfect match, but the company itself feels wrong? This brings us to the equally important concept of person-organisation fit. This is less about your day-to-day tasks and more about matching your core values, beliefs, and personality to the overall culture of the organisation. In today's fast-moving world where job roles can change overnight, person-organisation fit is often considered even more critical for long-term success. Let me paint a picture. Imagine two friends, Sarah and Tom, who graduate from college. Sarah is highly competitive and individualistic. She lands a dream job as a financial analyst at a prestigious investment bank. The job itself is a perfect person-job fit. She loves analysing data and making high-stakes decisions. However, the company culture is intensely collaborative, with a flat hierarchy and a focus on teamwork. Sarah feels frustrated. She wants to be a star performer, but she's constantly forced into team projects. She dislikes the culture, and after a year she's burned out and looking for a new job, despite being great at the tasks. Now consider Tom. He is highly social and collaborative. He takes a job in a marketing department that's a bit more administrative than he'd like. The person-job fit isn't perfect, but the company culture is exactly what he values. Team-oriented, supportive, with lots of social events and open communication. Tom feels like he belongs. He builds strong relationships, feels valued, and is highly committed to the company. A year later, he's been promoted to a role with better person-job fit because the company recognised his potential and wanted to keep him. Sarah had great person-job fit, but poor person-organisation fit. Tom had mediocre person-job fit, but great person-organisation fit. In the long run, Tom was more successful and satisfied. So to recap for your C715 OA exam, person-job fit matches you to your tasks, often described by the RIASEC model. Person-organisation fit matches your values to the company's culture. Both are crucial, but in a dynamic environment, person-organisation fit is often the key to long-term employee retention and happiness. Now that we understand fit, let's dig deeper into personality. What is it really? For our purposes, think of personality as the sum total of ways an individual reacts to and interacts with others. It's the relatively stable pattern of thoughts, feelings, and behaviours that makes you unique. It's why you might be the person who speaks up in every meeting, while your colleague prefers to listen and reflect. These patterns are called personality traits. But where does this all come from? This is the age-old nature versus nurture debate. Is our personality hardwired from birth, or is it shaped by our experiences? The answer, supported by a mountain of research, is both. The most compelling evidence comes from studies of identical twins who are separated at birth and raised in different families. Despite having completely different environments, they often show remarkable similarities in personality, interests, and even habits. This tells us there is a very strong genetic component. However, they are never perfectly identical. Your upbringing, your culture, and your life experiences all play a role in shaping you. So think of it this way. Heredity sets the general blueprint, but your environment and life experiences determine how that blueprint is built. So how do organisations measure something so complex? The most common way is through self-report surveys, where you answer questions about yourself. But there's a big problem here called social desirability bias. When you know a personality test is for a job, you're not just answering honestly, you're also thinking, what does the ideal candidate for this job look like? If the question is, how organised are you? And you're applying to be a project manager, you're probably going to rate yourself higher than you might if you were just taking the test for fun. To get around this, smart organisations also use observer rating surveys. This is where they ask someone who knows you well, like a former manager or a long-term colleague, to rate your personality. Research consistently shows that observer ratings are a better predictor of job performance. Why? Because others can see our blind spots. We might think of ourselves as great listeners, but our colleagues might know that we have a habit of interrupting. A combination of self-reports and observer ratings gives the most accurate and useful picture of a person's personality. Now let's explore the major frameworks used to classify personality, which is a key topic for your C715 OA exam questions. The most famous one, which you've probably heard of, is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, or MBTI. It's used everywhere in corporate team building events. The MBTI sorts people into one of 16 types based on 4 dichotomies: extroverted versus introverted, sensing versus intuitive, thinking versus feeling, and judging versus perceiving. You get a 4-letter code like INTJ or ESFP. Here's the critical part you need to know. Despite its popularity, the MBTI has very weak scientific support. The main problem is that it forces people into boxes. You're either an extrovert or an introvert, with no middle ground. Another issue is its poor reliability. If you retake the test a few weeks later, you might get a different result. Most importantly, for our purposes, it's a very poor predictor of job performance. So why is it so popular? It's because the descriptions are positive and affirming. It's like a horoscope. The descriptions are often so general that anyone can find a bit of themselves in them. This is known as the Fora effect. For your exam, remember that the MBTI is a tool for self-exploration, but it is not a valid or reliable tool for making hiring decisions. So what should be used instead? The scientific community is in near universal agreement: the Big Five model. This is the gold standard of personality assessment, built on decades of research. It proposes that personality can be boiled down to 5 broad dimensions. The easiest way to remember them is with the acronym OCEAN. Let's break them down in detail. O is for openness to experience. This trait reflects a person's curiosity, creativity, and appreciation for new and unusual ideas. Someone high in openness is an innovator. They're the person on the team who is always asking "what if?" and suggesting new ways of doing things. They thrive in dynamic, creative roles like marketing or research and development. Someone low in openness is more conventional and practical. They prefer the tried and true methods and provide stability. They are valuable in roles that require consistency and adherence to procedure, like quality control. C is for conscientiousness. If you remember only one trait, make it this one. Conscientiousness is the single best predictor of job performance across almost all jobs. It measures reliability, responsibility, and organisation. A highly conscientious employee is a project manager's dream. They are dependable, they plan ahead, and they see their commitments through to the end. They're the person who always has their part of the project done ahead of schedule. A person low in conscientiousness is more spontaneous and disorganised. They might be creative and fun, but they are also more likely to miss deadlines and make careless mistakes. E is for extroversion. This measures a person's comfort level in social situations. Extroverts are sociable, assertive, and draw energy from being around other people. They often excel in jobs that require a lot of social interaction, like sales, customer relations, or management. An introvert, the low end of the scale, is more reserved and gets their energy from quiet reflection. They are often excellent listeners and deep thinkers, thriving in roles that require concentration and analysis, like a data scientist or an editor. It's a common misconception that introverts are shy or antisocial. They can be perfectly sociable. It just drains their energy, whereas it energizes an extrovert. A is for agreeableness. This trait refers to a person's tendency to be compassionate and cooperative rather than suspicious and antagonistic towards others. A highly agreeable person is the ultimate team player. They are warm, trusting, and helpful. They're great at building consensus and maintaining a harmonious work environment. A person low in agreeableness is more challenging and detached. They are more likely to question assumptions and play devil's advocate, which can be very valuable for decision-making, even if it makes them less popular. There's a balance here. An overly agreeable leader may struggle to give negative feedback or make a tough, unpopular decision. Finally, N is for neuroticism, or its opposite, emotional stability. This dimension measures a person's ability to handle stress and negative emotions. Someone with high emotional stability is calm, confident, and resilient. When a crisis hits, they're the one who stays level-headed and guides the team through it. Someone high in neuroticism, low in emotional stability, is more prone to anxiety, stress, and worry. They may react more emotionally to setbacks and find it harder to bounce back from failure. Emotional stability is strongly related to job satisfaction and the ability to handle high-pressure jobs. What we just covered about the Big Five model is exactly the type of material you'll find in our free practice question bank. These aren't just basic questions either, they're designed to test your deep understanding, just like the real OA exam will. Now, while the Big Five covers the broad strokes of normal personality, there's a darker side that is crucial to understand in the workplace. This is known as the dark triad, a constellation of 3 negative personality traits: Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy. Let's start with Machiavellianism. Named after Niccolo Machiavelli, who famously wrote about gaining and using power, the core of this trait is a cynical and manipulative approach to life. The motto of a high Mach is, "The ends justify the means." Let's imagine a character, Alex, a marketing manager. Alex wants a promotion. A colleague, Ben, comes up with a brilliant campaign idea. Alex praises Ben's idea in private, then presents a slightly modified version of it to the senior leadership as his own. When confronted, Alex claims it was a collaborative effort and that Ben is just trying to steal the spotlight. Alex also spreads subtle rumours that another contender for the promotion is struggling with their projects. Alex is pragmatic, emotionally distant, and purely focused on winning, with no regard for ethics or the people he hurts along the way. Next is narcissism. A narcissist has a grandiose sense of self-importance, a deep need for admiration, and a profound lack of empathy. Let's think about a CEO, Jordan. Jordan's incredibly charismatic and inspiring. He can give a speech that makes everyone in the company feel like they are changing the world. At first, he seems like a visionary leader, but over time the cracks appear. He surrounds himself with yes-men who praise his every idea. Anyone who questions his strategy is publicly humiliated or fired. He takes sole credit for every success and blames his team for every failure. He believes he is a genius, entitled to special treatment. The organization's culture becomes toxic, built around pleasing Jordan rather than serving customers or creating value. This is a classic example of destructive narcissism in leadership. The final trait is psychopathy. In the workplace context, this doesn't mean a violent criminal. It refers to a person with a total lack of concern for others and an absence of guilt or remorse. Let's consider Taylor, a high-level executive. Due to Taylor's poor planning, the company is facing a budget shortfall. To fix the problem, Taylor decides to lay off 20% of the workforce. At the meeting announcing the layoffs, Taylor is calm, charming, and even cracks a few jokes. Afterwards, colleagues are distraught, but Taylor feels nothing. There's no guilt, no sadness, just a cold, calculated decision to solve a problem. The emotional devastation of the employees is completely irrelevant to Taylor. This lack of empathy and remorse is the hallmark of psychopathy in the organisational context. I know we're covering a lot of detailed information, and you might be wondering how to practice applying all these concepts. That's precisely why I put together those 300+ free practice questions I mentioned earlier. They'll help you work through problems that combine multiple concepts, just like you'll see on the actual C715 OA exam. Beyond these major frameworks, there are a few other highly relevant personality attributes that are powerful predictors of workplace behaviour. Let's cover 3 of them: core self-evaluations, self-monitoring, and proactive personality. First, core self-evaluations, or CSE. This isn't a single trait, but a broad bottom-line assessment we have about ourselves. It's made up of our sense of self-esteem and self-efficacy. People with positive CSE believe they are competent, capable, and in control of their lives. Let's contrast 2 new employees, Maria and David, who are both given a very challenging first project. Maria has high CSE. She sees the project as an exciting opportunity to learn and prove herself. When she hits a roadblock, she thinks, "Okay, this is tough, but I can figure it out." She's motivated and persists. David has low CSE. He sees the same project as a threat, a test he's bound to fail. When he hits a roadblock, he thinks, "I knew it, I'm not smart enough for this job." He gets discouraged easily, and his performance suffers. As you can see, CSE has a huge impact on motivation, performance, and job satisfaction. Next up is self-monitoring. This is your ability to adjust your behavior to fit different social situations. Think of a high self-monitor as a social chameleon. They are very attuned to social cues and can change their behavior to fit in, whether they're talking to the CEO, a client, or a new intern. Imagine a company networking event. The high self-monitor, let's call her Chloe, moves through the room effortlessly. With the senior executives, she talks about industry trends. With the engineers, she asks insightful questions about their latest project. With the marketing team, she jokes about a recent viral ad. She's building rapport with everyone. Now consider a low self-monitor Ryan. Ryan's also at the party. He's passionate about medieval history. He talks about medieval history with the CEO, the engineers, and the marketing team, regardless of whether they're interested. Ryan's being authentic to himself, but Chloe is being more socially effective. High self-monitors are often better at navigating office politics and are more likely to become leaders, though they can sometimes be seen as inauthentic. Finally, we have proactive personality. These are the people who don't wait for things to happen. They make things happen. They are action-oriented individuals who identify opportunities and take initiative. Let's expand on our earlier customer service example. An employee, let's call him Sam, notices that every week at least 10 customers call with the same confusing problem about their bill. A reactive employee would just solve the problem for those 10 customers each week. But Sam has a proactive personality. He documents the issue, gathers data on how much time it's costing the company, and on his own time, he mock-ups a redesign of the billing statement to make it clearer. He then presents his proposal to his manager. He didn't wait to be asked. He saw a problem and took the initiative to solve it. Proactive employees are invaluable because they are agents of positive change. If some of these more advanced concepts feel challenging right now, don't worry at all. That's completely normal. And it's exactly why I created that comprehensive practice question bank. Working through those problems will help solidify your understanding and build your confidence. Now for a critical shift in our thinking. So far we've focused heavily on personality traits, but the truth is our personality doesn't operate in a vacuum. The situation we're in can have a massive impact on our behaviour. This brings us to two essential theories for your exam: situation strength theory and trait activation theory. Let's start with situation strength theory. The big idea here is that the strength of the situation, meaning the clarity of rules and norms, determines how much personality influences behaviour. Strong situations have clear rules and strong pressures to conform. They leave very little room for individual personality to show. Think about a soldier in basic training. The situation is incredibly strong. There are rules for how to walk, talk, eat, and even how to make your bed. A naturally rebellious, free-spirited person and a naturally conforming, obedient person will likely behave in almost the exact same way in this context, because the situation is so powerful. Now think of a weak situation, like hanging out with friends on a Saturday afternoon. There are very few rules. In this weak situation, the rebellious person and the conforming person will behave very differently. Their true personalities will shine through. The key takeaway for your exam is this: personality is a much better predictor of behaviour in weak situations than in strong ones. There are 4 elements that make a situation strong. Clarity: are the rules clear? Consistency: do all the cues point to the same behaviour? Constraints: how much freedom do you have? And consequences: how important are your actions? A job as an airline pilot is a very strong situation. The rules are crystal clear. They are consistent. There are immense constraints on a pilot's freedom, and the consequences of a mistake are catastrophic. A job as a freelance artist is a weak situation. The rules are unclear, there are few constraints, and the consequences of a painting not turning out well are low. Now let's look at the other side of the coin with trait activation theory, or TEAT. This theory is a bit more nuanced. It suggests that certain situations act as triggers, or activators, for specific personality traits. Think of your personality traits as a set of tools in a toolbox. You don't use every tool for every job. The job or the situation determines which tool you pull out. For example, a high-pressure deadline is a situation that activates the trait of emotional stability. The person who can remain calm under pressure will excel. A brainstorming session to invent a new product is a situation that activates openness to experience. The most creative and curious person will shine. A competitive sales contest with a huge bonus for the winner is a situation that activates extroversion. The assertive and outgoing person is likely to be the most motivated. The beauty of TRT is that it shows us it's not about which personality is best, but about which personality is best suited for the specific demands of a situation. The best manager understands this and tries to create situations that activate the strengths of their team members. Together, these two theories give us a sophisticated understanding of workplace behaviour. It's never just about the person, and it's never just about the situation. It's about the dynamic interplay between the two. Finally, let's complete our picture of individual differences by discussing abilities and values. First, ability. Ability is what you can do. It's your current capacity to perform tasks. We can divide it into two categories: intellectual abilities and physical abilities. Intellectual abilities are what we traditionally think of as smarts. Things like reasoning, problem solving, and verbal and numerical skills. For complex jobs, intellectual ability is a very strong predictor of performance. Physical abilities include things like strength, stamina, and coordination. They are obviously crucial for jobs like being a firefighter, a dancer, or an athlete. The goal for any organisation is to ensure there is a match between the ability requirements of the job and the abilities of the person in that job. Now let's turn to values. If personality is about how we tend to act, values are about what we believe is right and wrong, good and bad. Values are our fundamental beliefs about what is important in life. They are the compass that guides our attitudes and motivations. For your exam, you need to know the difference between terminal and instrumental values. Terminal values are the desired end states, the ultimate goals you want to achieve in your lifetime. Think big picture. What do you want to achieve at the end of your life? Examples could be a sense of accomplishment, wisdom, equality, or a comfortable life. Instrumental values are the preferred modes of behaviour, or the means you use to achieve your terminal values. These are the principles you live by. Examples include honesty, ambition, courage, or kindness. So someone might have a terminal value of achieving social recognition, and their instrumental value for getting there might be ambition. Another person might have the same terminal value of social recognition, but try to achieve it through the instrumental value of helpfulness. Understanding this distinction is key to understanding what truly motivates people at their core. As we wrap up this detailed overview, remember that understanding these concepts is just the first step. The real mastery comes from applying them, which is where those 300+ free practice questions become invaluable. They're completely free and designed specifically for your OA exam success. So let's tie it all together. What have we learned today? We've seen that individual differences are critically important in organisational behaviour. The concept of fit, both with the job and the organisation, is a powerful predictor of satisfaction and turnover. We've learned that while the MBTI is popular, the Big Five model is the scientifically validated framework you need to know for your exam, with conscientiousness being the star player for predicting job performance. We also explored the darker side of personality with the dark triad, Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy, which helps explain many of the toxic behaviours we can see in the workplace. And crucially, we learned that personality doesn't operate in a vacuum. The power of the situation, explained by situation strength theory and trait activation theory, can either suppress or activate our personality traits, fundamentally shaping our behaviour. Finally, we touched on the roles of ability and values as key individual differences that influence work outcomes. Understanding these concepts isn't just about passing your C715 OA exam. It's about understanding why you and your colleagues act, think, and feel the way you do. This knowledge can help you become a better employee, a better manager, and help you find a career path where your unique personality and values can truly shine. You now have a solid foundation in personality and individual differences. Keep reviewing these concepts Think about how they apply to your own experiences, and you will be in excellent shape. Don't forget to grab those free practice questions from the link in the description. With the depth of knowledge you've gained today, plus the practice from those questions, you'll be incredibly well prepared for your OA exam. You've got this. Good luck with your studies.